Hello, friends. Welcome to the Migrants on Air podcast, conversations with migrant leaders and advocates across regions. The Asia Pacific Mission for Migrants, APMM, launched this podcast as part of our effort to raise awareness and amplify migrants' campaigns. I am Dewi Amelia and I will be your host today. In this episode, in the light of Domestic Workers Day, we're going to talk about migrant domestic workers in the Middle East. According to the International Labor Organization, or ILO, there are around 6.6 million domestic workers in Arab states, originating from Asian and African countries such as Sri Lanka, the Philippines, Bangladesh, Nepal, India, and Ethiopia. In many Arab states, migrant domestic workers are excluded from national labor legislation and are tied to their employer or the kafile sponsor through a restrictive sponsorship system known as kafala. As a result, employers wield considerable power over their working and living conditions. Moreover, if an employer fails to renew the work and resident permit, or if migrant domestic workers leave their employment without the employer's permission, they fall into irregular status and become subject to arrest, detention, and deportation. The informal, unregulated, and isolated nature of their work render migrant domestic workers vulnerable to exploitation, abuse, and forced labor. Often, they are denied many basic labor rights related to freedom of associations, remuneration, working hours, periods of rest, retention of their identity documents, leave, and freedom of movement outside the households they work in. Joining us today is Cora, not her real name, and for her security, we will also hide her face. She is a Filipina migrant domestic worker based in the Middle East. She is a member of the Association of Domestic Workers or Samahan ng Domestic Workers, a newly established organization composed primarily of domestic workers. The organization also works in solidarity with migrant workers of different nationalities, including Indian, Indonesian, and African workers. For your information, there are around 2.4 million Filipinos in the Middle East. This is Migrants on Air. Let's get started. Hello, Cora.
Yes, hello. Good afternoon here.
Good afternoon.
Yes,
How are you?
I'm having my break for a minute. I finished my morning work.
Thank you so much, Cora, for making time to joining us today for this podcast.
Yeah, thank you,
So,
thank you. It's a pleasure.
and talking about, the routine of migrant domestic workers there in the Middle East, maybe you can share with us how is the situation, the routines, or anything else that you can share with us about migrant domestic workers in the Middle East.
Just like what you says before, we have our organizations like the Association of domestic worker here. I just want to present the numbers of domestic workers, especially Filipino who is working in Middle East. 20% in UAE, 40% in Qatar, 45% in Kuwait, 70% in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, 90% in Oman, 95% in Jordan, including Lebanon, 60% of in Bahrain. Most of the are Filipino domestic workers. Usually, I wake up 4:30 to prepare everything. I'm a nanny,
Mhm.
So I prepare the food for the school of the kids. I make sure that at before 7 a.m. he is ready to go to school. After that, I have to drop him to the school. And then I came back, so I start my routines, cleaning the household, washing clothes, ironing. I start from 4:30, 5 o'clock till 9 p.m.
9
That is
p.m.
on, yeah, 9 p.m. Um, that is for me. But those who are working in local families,
Mhm.
usually they are working like 4 o'clock till 12 p.m. I've been working also with local families before I came here. So that is also my routines. I wake up early, not non-stop working, no day off. They are holding all my documents. But when I finish the contract, they are trying to send me to the Philippines because those Kapala system, the sponsorship, it happens to me. But I insist, no, I finished my contract, so you have to give me all my documents so I could find a job. So I filed a complaint in their labor here. So
Mhm.
alhamdulillah, they give me the chance to work here. But most of us who are working in the house experiencing like only 5 to 6 hours sleep, and we don't have rest. And we're doing multiple tasks. Our contract, it was like a nanny or a household worker, but we do all the stuff. So whatever contract that we sign, it is different from the actual job. That's what we are doing right now.
Thank you for sharing that. And actually, you already led to the next question that I have in my mind
Oh, sorry,
about.
sorry.
No, no, it's good. It's good. Like you already talking about the long working hours, no day
Yeah.
off, and also documents that is held by employer, right? And also lack of sleep, no rest, and also
Mm.
multiple tasks. Like if you are migrant domestic workers or domestic workers, you have to be able to do all the tasks, like you mentioned before. What you can say about the situation of other nationalities?
Actually, just the same. Maybe there are some worse when it comes to to the salary. I have a neighbor before that I used to help. Her salary is like 1,200. It is in dirham, and she is working with this family for like 2 years. Her salary is very low. So I told her like to try to talk to your employer. The policy here is they have at least once a week day off so that you can rest. So she tried to talk to her employer, and
Mhm.
then at first they refused, of course. I talked to her every time. Then she filed also a complaint to the labor, and it's good thing after the talk, the employer give her uh, a half day off a week. For me, it's a good thing also. At least she have time to rest. I experience also working with other nationalities like Sri Lanka and Indonesia when I'm
Mhm.
working with the locals. So
Mhm.
every Friday we have a gatherings with with this local family. So we are able to meet each other. So just same as with they don't have off also. At least the good thing with other like Indonesia, if they are cook, they are only cook. If they
Mm.
are cleaning, they will just do the cleaning. But that is only few. Most of them they are also doing cleaning cars, which is not included in their contracts, same
Mhm.
as Filipino. uh, so that's it. Because of the Kapala system,
Mhm.
because of the sponsorship, they are treating us like, hey, we buy for you with your agency. So you are like a slave for us. Whatever we say, you have to do it. That is what happening here. We cannot complain unless you have guts. Those who don't know how to fight their right, they will just bow their head and say, yes, okay, we're going to do whatever the employer is telling us, which is very bad.
Yes, I'm sure it's really difficult if um, everything like your legal status is really tied to a person that they can decide whatever will happen to you when you are there. Thank you so much, Cora. And then you mentioned about your organizations and also some of the effort that you already um, did with fellow migrants there in the Middle East. Like you're trying to provide them with information and even make them able to file a complaint to labor. So maybe you can also uh, share with us the other efforts that you think your organization think as
Mm.
important to bring some changes to the situation of migrant domestic workers there.
What we are doing right now, we established the organizations. It is not yet formal before last year. But before that, I used to be an advocate. Because of my experience, I'm a human trafficking victim. We've been locked in a room. So I wanted to like, what can I do to help others? So it's what that advocacy strengthened my dreams to help another other who is experiencing whatever I experienced before. We tried to make an organization, which is now the associations. What we are doing right now is, during their off, we are gathering in one place. It's either in the park or whatever suitable place for us, because the situation here, they are not allowing to build any organizations. So what we are doing, so we are just making some activities, but in that activities, like, we have a little programs, knowing each other, um, asking the situations, sharing our experiences. From that, we are giving them some inputs, educations. Like here, what we are doing now is we are giving them about the labor rights, what is the labor policy here, so they will know uh, what to do when they've been violated. And then we are also introducing them the right and welfare assistance program, where we are telling them how to endorse some cases of abuses. We are doing some uh, hopping in the our embassies. We are accompanying them when they are complaining. They go there to complain about their situations, their employer or their agencies. So that is what we are doing. We are trying to build a community where people are helping each others.
That's so inspiring actually. People helping each other because yeah, we only have people to help us.
Actually, yeah, especially for me, I don't have family here. So with this community, with these organizations, I build my family, I build friends. It is actually, it is more than like a family. When you are building a community, helping each other, spreading what we must do, it is like a relationship of more than a friendship.
Yes, that is true. And I think that the activities, the efforts that you've been doing is also helping in building these communities that help each other.
Actually, through this thing, we can we can also reach out other nationalities, other domestic workers, because from little numbers before, sometimes they are messaging us like, I have a problem, my employer is doing like this, doing like that. The relationship, it must be not only by like endorsing the cases. See, they know, they must educate how to fight for their rights. When you are just endorsing their cases to whatever agency is concerned, the most important, after they finish their problem, because for sure we will just, it is a repeating conditions of migrant workers. You
Mm-hmm.
know, as long as you are here outside the country, you are working with other, with locals, with other employer, you will experience same thing. But through this organization, at least you have the knowledge how you will fight about your rights. Supposedly, the working hours is 8 hours only. When you see you've been abused for working 13, 14 hours a day, you have to complain. You have to talk because when you are trying to say yes in everything, it means you are always getting this kind of abuses.
I agree with you, Cora, and we need to build our organizations and also keep spreading the information and build awareness
Mm.
um, on how to create changes that can change um, the repetitive, like you say, the repetitive problems that may happen to everyone regarding their cases. And thank you so much for the effort and the work that um, has been done there and will keep uh, continue to be done, right?
Yeah,
Um,
thank you so much, Ito.
and Cora, maybe you can share a message or closing message to our viewers and in commemorating of Domestic Workers Day, maybe,
Yeah.
please.
Okay. I just want to say that um, we are domestic workers. We are also workers. So whatever the workers in international labor law must provide us, it must be done, and they will not give us freely about our demands. So what we have to do is we have to make an organizations to unite ourselves about how we are going to fight our rights, our welfare. We have to build a community where we can help each other. We have to create unity among ourselves. So to all the domestic workers, you are not alone. We are always here to fight. Let us fight our rights.
Thank you so much, Cora. Yes, and I agree with that. So migrant domestic workers is workers, and all the rights attached to any worker should also attach to domestic
Domestic
work.
workers. You're
Yes,
right.
I agree with that, and I also echo that all of us need to build our organizations, our community, to enable us to help for each other, and also raising awareness to understand all the issues, and also to be able creating changes that will advance the rights of migrants. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Cora,
Yeah, thank you
for
so much
for
for
your
yeah.
story. And friends, thank you for listening. This is Migrants on Air podcast, conversation with migrant leaders and advocates across regions. See you.